Let's call to order the March 10th meeting of the Easthampton Historical Commission. It is 6:36. First order of business is public speak. Anybody have anything? Nobody out there wants to say anything? Okay. Second order of business would be the approval of the February 3rd minutes.
Thank you for sending those out. They look good to me, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve the.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Mike, because we have one member on phone, we don't know, can you do a roll call on that?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so all in favor, Nora,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Tracy? Unmute.
*6 or *7 will unmute you.
Yeah. There we go.
Aye.
Aye, and Beverly.
Aye.
And Mike in favor. Okay. That's all set. Correspondence, I guess can we talk about that email since kind of came in last minute? I guess it would be more, not really sure where this is going.
You want to read it, Mike, because I didn't send it to everybody because
Yeah,
my-
I will, if I can.
My email sort of, everything's a little screwed up right now.
Yeah, my computer's running like real slow, so it may take a while to load. Here we go. Okay, all right, this is from Garrett Stover.
Yeah.
And he writes, subject is Canal Historic Marker Grant Opportunity. Beverly, there doesn't seem to be a contact person for the Historical Commission listed on the city website, so I'm hazarding a guess and sending this to you as a member. This is a grant opportunity to fund installation of a canal-related historical markers from the William G. Pomeroy Foundation, some sort of descendant. They've funded projects in Northampton, including support for a National Historic District designation. So I'm sure the Northampton New Haven Canal would be a great candidate. And there's a couple of links here. It's from the, let's see if I can, oh. Okay, sorry, but the page you're trying to view does not exist. We'll figure that out. So, let's see. Yeah, here we go.
Discuss it while you're searching.
It came up. It was just the link has a couple extra letters at the end that it didn't need, so it couldn't find that page. Can I post this up there, or do you have to do it, Jamie?
I'm your co-host, so you can share your screen.
Let's see. Okay, how am I going to do this? Just need the technical expertise.
You just need to hit share screen at the bottom of you mouse down to the bottom of the Zoom browser. You should see a pop-up that will say
Yep.
share screen.
Okay. There. Is that, everybody see that?
Starting.
There we go.
Now, when I do that, does it actually move?
Yep.
Okay. So this is, so I don't know. I mean, is this local or is this some other state? But if
Yeah,
I-
that's the Delaware River. That's, yeah,
Yeah,
that's near the New York
evidently
state line.
They were there. Okay.
The nice looking marker.
So they're offering that marker to us? Is that what it amounts to?
I don't think so.
I don't think they're offering it. I think you have to apply for
Yeah.
a grant to get it.
To get that marker, right? Like, it's not like design a marker, it's
I,
apply for a grant to get that marker?
I don't know. I haven't read it. I just got this late this afternoon, so I haven't read the application.
oh, let's see. That's what it sounds like. Two unique
Yeah.
logos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's interesting. I mean, it's nice looking.
I guess
Jamie,
we've
do you
talked
think-
about markers before and like the idea, although I guess we're still sort of figuring out where, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, a couple months before COVID, maybe late 2019, we had a guest from, what is this, the Westfield Historical Society.
Could have
it
been
was-
Southwick.
So it was the sorry, you're right. It was the Southwick Historical Society, and they were doing canal-related markers as well. Their program was just going to be for payment of the actual costs, and they were going to do the rest of the work, I believe. So this one, similar type, looks like a grant. I'm looking at the bottom. It says that it's for 501c3 organizations only, which I don't
No, no.
believe.
Where do you
Oh,
see
I
that?
got it up at the top. It said,
Here.
yeah, eligibility.
Yeah.
It does list local, state, and federal government. So,
Also, to be in consideration of how we're proceeding with a partnership possibly with Northampton.
yeah.
So,
So, yeah, and we can talk, if you want to skip around on the agenda and we talk about the, go into the New Haven Northampton Canal update. These seem to connect. So is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
that's great.
So we, the DLTA grant that we received was good for the 2020 calendar year.
Mhm.
So we, and obviously the work was not completed. We reapplied to PVPC for an additional DLTA grant to continue the project. We have not yet heard back. The assumption is that the application was a formality because this is something that PVPC and the 6 communities are very interested in seeing get done, and that the regional applications for DLTA are they sort of are, they're funded separately from the individual communities. So assuming that funding goes forward, the project team, the 6 communities will continue to meet to finish developing the RFP for hiring a consultant, and then we'll have to apply to CPA for the Easthampton portion of the funds. At that point, I think once we get the consultants on board, it might make sense for regionally for us to look at a program to do markers along the canal. I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, but part of that, the consultants' work will be to really identify the location of the canal. We know where it is in pieces, but there's no, the documentation is not great. We don't know exactly which properties it crosses over, whose land it's on, and where there are still historical remnants remaining, or where they're, you know, the, I guess where the other important sites were along the route. So I think once that happens, like I said, I think it might make sense at that point to consider the doing some sort of marker. If we are interested in going down that road, it might be helpful to consider that as part of the CPA application to get them funds for these types of markers. Right now, it's sort of, I guess we're in limbo with the DLTA grant until it's funded. So I don't know if there's any questions or thoughts on that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the only place that would probably be appropriate for something like this would be O'Neill Street anyways, possibly Luffield Street.
Or on the rail trail.
True, that would probably more on
More
the
visible.
Northampton side, not Easthampton.
Well, out where it crosses on Luffield Street.
Yeah,
Not,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, the rail trail is kind of a little bit down from where the canal was. And it comes up as you get into Northampton, and it goes side by side for a little bit. Even then, it's hardly recognizable. The most recognizable spot is definitely O'Neill Street, where you get some traffic. And I suppose the other spot would be where the canal house is. Although they're saying near an existing reformer. Yeah, I mean like the guy from Southwick wanted to do is put the signage up by the old warehouse, right? That was, yes.
What warehouse?
On Northampton Street, Northampton and Mill Street. That house that's right there used to be I guess a warehouse or something. But I mean, we have. I kind of get what Jamie's saying there. I didn't focus on the whole thing, but got 2 months anyways. If somebody else wants to, actually a little bit more than that, right? So
I guess for my 2 cents worth, admittedly, I think signage is fairly easy for us to manage if we didn't take advantage of this opportunity. In the long run, I think we should have signage, though I had imagined it might have been a little more like the one with the old railroad depot or something like that, a little more. I mean, you could add this one on top or whatever, but I don't know if we have to jump at this one or not. I guess
right,
I'm
yeah.
ambivalent.
Just to, I was looking at the what they're looking for is not just saying that the canal was here, but also that there was some event or historical, something that was historically important that happened at that location. So, yeah, I would,
Well, I mean, this one here is basically saying that
Yeah.
carried coal. I mean, you could,
right,
you know, it doesn't really have to be anything incredible. It's just, you
Yeah.
just needed some kind of like, yeah, the canal was here from, what was it, 1835 until 1845 and blah, 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 you
I'm
know.
pretty sure the one in Northampton, right on the corner of State and that it's similar. It just says that it connected from there to Lake Erie or wherever.
yeah.
Yeah, New Haven, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
And I wouldn't argue against having one. I certainly wouldn't turn one down, but I don't know if we have to do
Right.
backflips.
Well, yeah, the last thing, who's going to handle it, you know, I kind of understand that there. This is what they're, yeah. You know, I think Jamie, you may be right. If this whole grant thing is done and possibly that group could even apply for this. They do it, looks like they do it twice a year, once in the fall also. So, I mean,
right.
it's not, yeah, I don't think it's anything we have to get too worked up over at this point. We definitely got time to, you know, if it comes up again and we got nothing else going on, then we can certainly take a look at it.
So my suggestion would be that we wait till the September application.
Mhm.
And if someone wants to take this on, I think it would be good. We could maybe use maybe just identifying 2 locations. I think we already did roughly, like I heard someone say Northampton's where the canal would have crossed on Northampton Street or on Lovefield Street.
Yeah.
You know, we still have the original canal is West Street, where the West Street crosses over. At what tributary it is to the
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah. Yeah.
so that bridge is still an original structure, but I don't think we really want to point out there. It's kind of hard to access, requires going down
Right.
you know, metal ladder that's bolted into the side of the bridge.
It seems to me that what they're looking for probably wouldn't be that hard to put together.
Yeah.
I mean, the primary source there's a report that's available online from, you know, a financial report from the canal company, and I think that's primary source.
Yeah.
And then the secondary source. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I think, you know, let it rest over the summer, and then let the other project get going again, and see what we come up with, if anything. And if they, you know, if not, maybe the following year. Okay.
Does anyone want to take that on to try to identify 2 sites and start to look at the application materials?
Don't all jump at once. I get it. I mean, I want to do some walking along the canal anyway, so maybe, you know, I kind of, like I said, have a couple spots in mind anyways. The other place could possibly be the, what do they call that? The canal superintendent's house?
Yeah. On West Street.
West Street, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the Touchstone Farms.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if we're looking Or if we only have one marker that we're putting up, then I would go for something in the downtown or near where.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that warehouse or whatever,
Yeah.
on Northampton Street's a good spot.
The general store and
Yeah.
where it used to cross it. I think that might be a good location. I don't. I guess the West Street location seems a little bit harder. It is private property,
Yeah.
whereas.
Well, I mean, something like that, typically they're on the side of the road anyways, like still in the, the
Yeah.
public, right,
Yeah.
just where somebody sees that and go, oh, over on your left is such and such a place. And
Walter and I were walking on the rail trail along Luffield Street, and I think there is some sort of indication of the canal along there. I think there is a sign. This was a couple months ago that we were walking there, and we were kind of looking it up on his phone, and I think you can see where it was to the left side of the trail there.
whereabouts were you?
Probably beyond Chem Metal on O'Neill Street, but on the rail trail. And I think there was some sort of signage about the canal. Again, this was a couple of months ago, and we were looking up the canal, and there was an area we kind of identified to the left side of the trail going towards Route 10.
Mhm.
And I think signage where a lot more pedestrians would see it works.
Yeah.
Where if it's something along a road where you're just driving by, you're not going to bother to look at it.
Yeah, it's a hard, I wouldn't say a hard decision, but it's a hard place to find that perfect spot where people are, be able to go slow enough, they're walking or bicycles or whatever, to see it and digest it, and have it in a place that whoever's doing the grant would say, oh yeah, that's okay, it's not in the middle of nowhere,
I think a lot
Obviously, they want them
would
to
see it there either walking or on bikes, where if it went further down at that house, people will be riding by in a car and aren't going to bother to stop and read something like that.
Yeah. You get quite a bit of pedestrian traffic. If you're talking about Northampton Street, West Street, not so much. But Northampton Street, definitely, a lot of people walk by. So that probably wouldn't be too bad there. Anything beyond that, as you get into, you're heading south, the only other place maybe be the intersection at West and Glendale. There is supposedly some culvert remains out in the back, but I mean, it's another spot where you could just make note that canal passed through here. I think I haven't walked across Gratian's property, but it seems like there's some wouldn't say remnants, but some trace that it was there. It's hard to see, but it seems like that field has still got like a roadway that runs down it. It probably was the canal towpath at one time. Anyways, so yeah, we can. How about we just keep it on the agenda for a while? See how keep bringing it up, and maybe somebody will catch fire. All right. The next article would be the demo delay bylaw. Anybody come up with anything? Anybody do anything on it? I know I haven't.
I confess I have not.
Okay. Good. At least you're honest.
A second confession.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to go back with it look at it. I think, we're still, I mean, what were we thinking last? Do we want it to go to 18 months or 12 months, Jamie?
I thought we were talking about 12. Maybe we had put in 18 as a placeholder. Do
Yeah,
you want me to pull it up for screen sharing?
yeah, please.
I'm frozen. I don't know if everyone is also frozen.
I can hear you, but you're not moving.
Okay. Well, if we lose the meeting, sorry.
Okay, I'm still moving. I looked quick and it was like, wait a minute.
My computer's completely frozen, I guess, other than the sound. So maybe we won't pull it up.
So we're moving on.
Yeah, why don't we move on, and then if my computer unfreezes, we can come back to it.
Okay. Well, next thing is the 2020 survey and planning grant. Main Street Extension Area Inventory Update.
We have
Are you back?
the consultant. So last we talked about the consultant was just getting under contract. We had our initial kickoff meeting, and they are starting to do work on the trying to get the initial research and things like that as part of the grant. So
Is there another meeting coming up? I was going to ask you anyways.
nothing planned at the moment. There will be one at the end of this first phase. We'll also be doing the consultants are basically going through the list of properties that we identified, and they are trying to narrow that down based off of well, they're going to first come up with some criteria and propose it for how they think we should narrow it down, and then we'll have them go ahead and do that based off the criteria that they identify.
Have they physically been up here yet?
No, they have not. The initial kickoff meeting was via Zoom. It would have been in person if not for COVID. But they will be coming into the city to do the research and to do the on the ground field work as well.
Yeah, the one thing that the Mass Historical kind of pointed out was that there's a small window for doing the photography because you want to do it before the leaves come out, and we obviously don't want to do it when there's a lot of snow on the ground. So that should be actually taking place quite soon, I would imagine. You only got like 3 or 4 more weeks where there's not going to be much foliage.
Yeah, so that is a good point, Mike.
Yeah, I did take something away from that meeting.
It looks like my computer unfroze.
Let's see.
And, can everyone see the demo delay ordinance?
Yep. Yes.
Great. So why don't we take a look at that and discuss it then.
Okay. you have the other one that's got the, or are they on there?
I'm sorry, Mike.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Probably not. The one is highlighted in red.
Yeah, so red is things that we've discussed or things that I put in. Black is the original text.
Right.
Blue underlining is Microsoft Word telling us that there's some sort of grammatical error, so you can ignore the blue underline.
Okay.
Can you scroll down further? Jamie, can you scroll down further? I can
Mhm.
only see the top part of it.
Yeah, so I'm now past the sections that I'm at the end. Is it still is it not scrolling on your screen?
It's not doing anything on my screen. I'm right at
Oh,
to demolition, and I can't see anything beyond
sorry, my screen,
or
I
proceed.
just noticed it said it was
Oh, there we go.
screen sharing was paused, and I don't know what that meant, so.
Okay,
um,
now it's coming up.
Okay, so where do you want me
Now-
to start? We'll start at procedure.
Yeah, now we're seeing the red. Before I couldn't see any of it.
Yeah, so that's why I was asking. That was okay.
I think I didn't realize that it had been paused. I don't even know how to pause it, so the only options are stop.
You did good.
Taking technical advice from you, Mike.
Yeah. That'll get you far.
Yeah.
Okay. The point number 2, within 14 days, the commission shall make an initial determination as to the historical significance of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, it's to be inventoried or to be inventoried. Would there be other considerations besides just those 2 things? Or are you just trying to keep it simple there? And, we say, oh, we're going to inventory that because it's so old. I mean, say something that hasn't been done, that's who knows where, on the outskirts of town or whatever.
Right. I mean, I think so. Obviously,
is that the original?
yeah. So what's in black is original.
That's okay.
The red, the only thing I changed in number 2 was adding that the chairperson of the commission
Yeah.
would make that determination sort of without having to come to the entire commission.
From my experience in the past, I would take chairperson of the commission out. We had a chairperson at one time. It wouldn't be Mike, but we did have a chairperson who allowed a very important historical building to be demolished without the rest of the commission seeing it. And it was the house that had the Underground Railroad in it.
Right.
It should not have been demolished.
Right. And so, I mean, I think the reason why I put in chairperson was because it says, so the historical commission meets roughly every once a month. But if we get an application the day, if the building commissioner gets an application the day after we have a meeting, then we'll either have to call, we have to call together a special meeting just to discuss whether or not this building has been inventoried or not, where it's like a review is sort of like pretty clear, like it's been, if it's been inventoried, it's positive. If it's not been inventoried, it's negative. And so in order to meet that 14-day timeline, I'm proposing that it was the chairperson who makes that decision. I understand concerns about not necessarily a chairperson acting in the best faith of the committee. So maybe there's another way to go about it, but part of that is because when the building commissioner receives an application for demolition, building permits under the state law have to be acted on by the building commissioner within 30 days from their receipt. So if we wait too long, then the building commissioner can get sort of caught up in those timelines. So I think that's why the 14-day timeline and not a 30-day timeline or a 60-day timeline or something like that.
I want to clarify is what you're suggesting is that by doing it this way, when you allow the chairperson the empowerment, that it means that then they could, on behalf of the commission, do this without having to wait for the next meeting that could be a long way off. So it gives them the ability to kick that out in a timely fashion without having to call a special meeting or wait for the next monthly meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I wonder if just the phrasing could be the chairperson on behalf of the commission, or something that implies that the commission knows about it, so that it's clear that you can't operate autonomous to the commission.
Well, I mean, so I guess it seems like it's pretty clear in that if it's been historically inventoried, the determination is supposed to be positive. Otherwise, if it's to be inventoried, that's the one that's sort of like unclear, like, you know, but considering that in the last, like, we're just doing an inventory now. The last time the commission did an inventory was 1991. I think it's hard for the commission to say, yeah, we're going to inventory that structure. We're going to inventory that structure. We have a list of properties we're going to inventory. And we've been waiting on it we've been waiting to do this inventory for 15 years. Maybe there's a better way to go about this than relying on the inventories.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at with that question, whether it's inventory. I mean, if it's inventoried right away, it gets consideration. So that's appropriate. I guess what was bothering me by it is that otherwise, if it's not inventoried, or if, like Beverly was kind of referring to, if I said, well, I like that guy or whatever. Hang on one second. Hello. Hey, what's up?
So maybe there's ways to go about this so that way it becomes automatic.
You mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you mean by automatic? What becomes automatic?
So any building that is historically inventoried is a positive determination. And then maybe any building older than 50 years, 75 years, 100 years. Like we haven't inventoried it, but it's a 100-year-old building, and we should at least have a discussion about it before it just comes back as negative.
We're just looking for a way to define what it is that we would say triggers us to want to protect the building, right? We're just looking for some language to communicate that, right?
Yeah. So, and it should be, ideally, the building inspector can look at something and make the determination on their own. Yes, this building is going to need to go through the demo delay process, and they make that determination based off of age, let's say. And then it comes to the commission, and the commission does their demo delay process. But this double making an initial determination and then another determination later is confusing and takes up a lot of time.
Well, I think that the automatic procedure would be a good way to go, in that it takes it out of one person's determination before reviewing it. It will be ruled in because of age. That seems helpful.
Right.
Yeah, we're automating as much of it as is verified in the process to be what would move it to that stage. So
Hi, I'm back. That was work. I'm just thinking that the conditions, okay, if it's inventoried, obviously, if it's greater than 50 years old, even if it's not inventoried. I mean, if it's 25 years old and it's not inventoried, and then we really don't have much, much cause.
my recollection is when we all debated, we thought 50 was a reasonable number.
So I'm going to scroll up to what this ordinance defines as a significant building, which is in whole or part was built 50 or more years prior to the date of application or of unknown age, is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, or is this pending application, is included in the cultural resources inventory, or pending, or has been termed by a vote of the commission to be historically or architecturally significant, where the owner and the building commissioner have been notified in hand or by certified mail within 10 days of that vote. So,
Not to be a stickler, but does that cover that one line there, has been determined by vote of the commission to be historically or architecturally significant? Historically significant as it relates to social and community and other aspects of, does that cover that, like something happened here that's significant, or someone lived there and that's significant?
it says period, style, method of building construction, or association with a famous architect or builder.
Which is
it does not say historically important place, or even just a historically important figure lived there.
right. So that one, okay.
So we could say, in terms of, we could add to it in terms of
yeah, because I would argue that, that's a little too specific about an architect or builder, and you know, it could be a famous person for any other reason. So
Or a famous event.
yeah, so we would want to broaden that to cover those things.
The only issue I have with that whole thing is that we would have to come up with a list of all those buildings that fall into that and notify everybody.
Well, I mean, I assume that what would happen is, you know, let's say 999 Main Street comes into the commission with a demolition delay, and it's not been inventoried, and we hadn't been planning to inventory, and it's not on the National Register, and it's not, there's been no, you know, if A, B, and C don't apply, or it's, let's say it's 70 years old or 75 years old, and so the commission would then make a vote and say, you know, so-and-so famous architect built this 70 years ago, and it's historically important at that meeting, and then we go ahead and certify that, you know, make that certification, and then it's considered a significant building.
Of course, that would get away from what you were talking about before with the trying to get it done in a timely manner, whether we're going to have a hearing or not.
Right.
So, you know, obviously you'd have to get the commission together and then look at what the building was and have a vote and whatnot. So you'd have to hold a meeting. The other part on part D, I guess, if it's not inventory, chances are we wouldn't really know a whole lot about it, like who's the architect and all that, unless somebody came to us and said, hey, they want to tear this building down and I know this about it. So, I mean, that's just kind of, you have a chance of stuff falling through the cracks. Not that that's a bad thing that's written there. I'm just saying that it's kind of like it's chances are it's not going to come up a whole lot, at least at, you know, part D. But like I said, I if like you know, taking your example, 999 Main Street, geez, what do we know about it? Nothing. You know, we got to go down there and look at it, and it might be more involved. But then again, if it's worth looking at, it may be worth saving. So.
And I mean, there are always going to be things that are going to come up that we don't necessarily know about. And a resident's going to say that, hey, I have these photographs that, you know, Noam Chomsky lived at this house for 6 months and wrote this work here. Or, you know, things are going to come up that we won't anticipate. So, yeah, I think that.
I'm just saying that, I guess what I'm saying is that it's probably not going to save many buildings because they're going to be gone before anybody figures that some of that stuff out.
But the point of it all is to put up an automated stop in the case of the things that we most know are likely
right.
wanting.
And, you know, I mean, and if it's 50 plus years, chances are, I mean, that's going to encompass a lot of buildings anyways. You figure what's 50 years now? That's
1971.
71. Yeah.
That's disturbing.
It is. It is. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, yeah, it's the 50-year part's going to catch just about everything that we're going to be interested in anyway.
I was out of college by then.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's true. We go with, if we just say automatically anything over 50 years, then we run into this issue of
right.
90% of the building demolitions we're gonna have a lot more work or applications for buildings that the commission doesn't care about.
Yeah.
So is there a way to put language in that simply gives us an ability to trip a switch, so to speak, that says, yeah, we're passing on we're not going to slow this down or get involved. There's a
Well, I think that's what
no,
I think that's what number 2 of the procedures tries to get at, is that you make this initial determination, and if the initial determination is, you know, if it's been inventoried or going to be inventoried, or it's on the National Register, or it's something that the commission feels is historically significant, then positive, otherwise negative.
so we're back to the idea that if we give that to the chairperson, then that's a way for them to easily move something on when we aren't interested. And the only thing that's been brought up is Bev's concern that it does empower that person to potentially act on their own, which is why I was suggesting that if we came up with something that clarifies that the chairperson has to work with the interest of the commission at heart, or on the behalf of the commission, or something that makes it clear that it's just not one person's decision to make. Does that cover everything we're trying to cover?
Yeah, and I would also just put out there that when this chairperson passed on the property that on Northampton Street, I mean, they weren't following the procedures as laid out in the ordinance. They were supposed to bring that to the commission for that initial determination, and they didn't.
So you're
That was inventoried anyways, right?
Violation.
So yeah, and it was an inventoried structure. So, you know, that the procedure was not followed when that building was demolished. So, and currently the way that this works now,
How about,
you know, it, because of the timelines to turn it around in 14 days, you know, we're like, when we bring it to the commission, we're making the building commissioner violate his duties to respond within 30 days for this demolition permit.
how about something like chairperson of the commission in consultation with members instead of a meeting, just, you know, consulting with a few other people on the commission, so you don't have to have a meeting, but making them aware that this come up. We've done that in the past, so.
And that would violate open meeting laws. So, like, we shouldn't be putting that into the ordinance to violate the open meeting law. Whether or not the open meeting law has been violated in the past, I'm not going to make a comment about, but.
Well, there wasn't an open meeting law years ago.
Right.
And wait, let me interject, because isn't the point here, Jamie, to try to avoid having to call a meeting of the commission when we know it's something we're not concerned about? Wasn't that the objective?
Or where it's something where we know that it's going to come to where we need to have a full hearing.
Right.
Right. So
we've come to an agreement that we can put in language that will automate it in the instances that it qualifies as significant based on those criteria listed. So all we're lacking is something that puts in language that says that we're pass, but what the process is, so that we don't have to have a meeting and no one has to violate any of their commitments, but we don't have to make a big hullabaloo when we're going to give it a pass.
The kind of speaking to that, back to the first two paragraphs that we were just talking about, it's kind of boilerplate language. It's probably something that the state put out there for people that are doing demo delays anyways, because this is Waltham. Any building within the city which is in whole or in part 75 years more old, and which has been determined by the commission or its designee to be significant based on any of the following criteria. The building is listed on or within an area listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Are we back? Oh, where are we? Right here, right? Okay, 14 days. The building has been found eligible for listing on the National Register. The building is importantly associated with one or more historic persons or events, or with the broad architectural, cultural, political, economic, or social history of the city or the Commonwealth, or the building is historically or architecturally important in terms of period, style, method of building, construction, or association with a recognized architect or builder, either by itself or in the context of a group of buildings. That really kind of puts everything into, I mean,
A concise statement.
yeah, well, and it kind of picks up a lot of stuff that you may not, consider, like, with the group of building things. So you have the church campus over here on Pleasant Street or at Sacred Heart. Not everything is new, it's old there, but then again, if you tore down the church and left the school standing, would that be, does that affect something, or tear down the school and leave the church standing? So I guess you could make a case that, we want to look at that.
So it looks like those things could be added to that top page that defines what is considered significant. We could add those adjectives.
Yeah, I think that's, it's really well said. It's similar to what we already had, right? In some ways. The other thing which I've been kind of really haven't been harping on it that badly, but some places have the application, which might give us some more info if you required them to do that when they were going to get the demolition permit. Okay, this building's X amount of years old. You need to fill this out, and then that can be reviewed, hopefully within the proper amount of time. You said 14 days, Jamie, for building inspector?
So I made an attempt to try to bring some of this conversation into words here. So what I have is, within 14 days, the chairperson of the commission shall make an initial determination as to the historic significance of the building. The initial determination shall be positive if the structure meets the above definition of a significant building, or is determined to be historically or architecturally significant in accordance with the above by the historical commission. Otherwise, the determination is negative. So maybe
Could you maybe make it more like what this says here, the commission or its designee? That way it doesn't have to be the chairman. It can be like
commission or its designee. So that could be the planning department. It could be the building commissioner if the commission feels
right.
that the current building commissioner is historically minded and trust, able to feel trust in that commissioner, in that building commissioner.
That's great.
Yeah, I think that way it would typically be somebody from the commission, for the most part, because at least we need to be made aware of it regardless. However, if it's like it's the shack that's half burnt down over by such and such a place, it's like, yeah, you just deal with that.
Well, this way, Jamie's language, the way I read it, means that when it's something that is clearly just not of our concern, things just are determined to be negative, and it can move on without us having to write a letter or take a specific meeting or anything like that. So that seems pretty
Yeah.
effective.
Um,
You know, I guess the worst possible thing is to have stuff fall through the cracks that we don't want torn down. And I think if we make the safety net big enough to where you got 50 years and, you know, and these other conditions, like I said, I think to get anything that's old is probably going to be looked at in Waltham. I mean, because
So I guess the one thing I would ask is, Jamie, do you think we have adequate protections that there is no possibility for a demolition to occur without the commission being aware of it if it was a historically significant building?
um, I guess, I mean, the thing that's complicated is, well, so I would say that, like, if it meets the above definition of a significant building, then that's pretty straightforward. If it's something where we're relying on historical architectural significance in terms of period, style, method of building construction, or association with a famous person, event, architect, or builder, then that needs to go through, that really should go through a hearing, or that should really go through a historical commission meeting, because it's by vote of the commission. So in that case, we're not going to meet the 14-day timeline.
Well, we can if we do a special meeting.
Yeah, we can, and there are a lot of these requests. So I don't know how many demolition requests the building commissioner gets in a year, but like every garage that needs to be torn down, every time someone wants to renovate a bathroom and they, you know, they're demolishing part of the structure to redo the inside of their home. I mean, there are so many little demolition requests that would fall under that then we'd be having special meet. We might as well then at that point decide, I think, that the commission needs to plan to meet every 2 weeks.
But other cities and towns have managed to find language that covers them so they don't have to do that, I assume.
In the past, it's only been triggered when someone wants to take a whole building down, not take down a part of the building, or it's usually only been triggered that way, as long as the building inspector is aware of the ordinance, because at one point we had a newer building inspector and he wasn't totally aware of the whole procedure.
Yeah.
And
I mean, so
it got caught very short.
According to the definitions, demolition is pulling down, destroying, removing, or raising a building or any portion thereof, or commencing the work of a total or substantial destruction with intent of completing the same. So
I think that's important too, because you could certainly alter the look of a building by, you know, tearing off the roof and doing whatever to it.
right.
So I think that needs to be considered. I just finding the
So
best,
what's
way,
it all?
the best way to do it without, you know, fitting within the 14 days and, you know, where's the 14 days come in? We have to make a decision once we are notified by the building inspector, right? And what's the building inspector's timeline? Do you know?
I believe that the building inspector has 30 days to act on, under the state building code, they have 30 days to act on a building permit request. If they don't act on it within those 30 days,
You can tear it down.
there are, it's not automatically approved, but there is like recourse for the applicant against the building inspector or the building commissioner.
Right.
I don't know the specifics of it. And my understanding is that it's the same timeline for demolitions because demolitions are considered building permits.
Okay. So even meeting once a month, we should always be able to look at what he's got on his plate, right?
Well, assuming that the building commissioner acts on the day it's received.
Yeah.
But, you know, it is possible that the building commissioner got a building permit or a demolition request 5 days ago and just hasn't looked at it to send it to the commission in time. And then now it's,
Well, we're a case, this meeting right here would be a similar case because we met last on the 3rd. So anything from the 4th until now, you know, 4th to the 10th would basically be outside of his time limit of approval or whatever. And so we wouldn't be able to look at it, but anything from the 11th on, we'd be okay with. Of course, the COVID's got things screwed up too.
Yeah.
People not working as much and whatnot. I don't know. It's maybe looking at some of the other demo delays and see how they're getting around it might be a wise decision at this point. Like I said, I'm not sure how often this is actually going to come up and be a problem, but hoping never. But it would be nice to be able to. Let's see. This is Weston. Okay. This is a little more of a timeline and not so much a ordinance like that. Okay. If each time a building permit application is filed with the building inspector or permit administrator, and if the historical commission review is necessary. Okay, so they're looking at before. This was 2000. They're notifying the applicant in 5 days. Not really sure. And then they hold a meeting within 21 days of the application. So you could end up doing a lot of special meetings, I suppose, if you were to do that. I'm not really sure how to write that out. Can we do a little more research on it? That sounds like a good idea.
yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm hearing the commission say is that we don't want anything to fall through the cracks. And we want to be able to review any demolition permit request over 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Well, that automatically should kick it in, right?
Well, no, because if it's older than,
yeah, I mean, right away at 50 years or older, it's going to make it a significant building. So we would definitely have the right to look at it.
so is it only if a building is, let's say, 40 years old, that D comes into play?
That's a good question. Probably, or 49 years old, right?
Um,
Yeah.
So in that case, if it's older than 50 years, then it's positive.
Right.
And we anything
If it's older than 50s, we should have the opportunity to at least drill the applicant as far as like what's going on over there. At least that's the way I'm reading it, right? I mean, obviously, public hearing.
So the significant building is so my understanding of it, so anytime the building commissioner receives a demo permit for for any building older than 50 years, it's supposed to be forwarded to the building commission. It's supposed to be forwarded to the historical commission, and then the historical commission is supposed to say, yeah, it's been inventoried or it hasn't been inventoried, but we're going to inventory it.
Right.
And that's how it's supposed to work. So, yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm going around in circles here on this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wrap it up soon. I got a water
Okay.
problem out there, so.
And I'll point out that I think that the problem in part is the two things that are at tension here are we're trying to be as broad about our coverage so nothing slips through the cracks.
Right.
And we're trying to avoid getting dragged into a meeting every 3 days to just approve somebody's toilet getting replaced. So those are the things that are at odds.
I remember seeing something with any demolition significant was more than a 25%. So you wouldn't be seeing like, okay, they're going to redo the bathroom. It's not, unless it's a 4-room house and the bathroom's getting totally demolished.
Well, I think that we should couch this because also if we give some kind of percentage like that, we could also be in trouble. Like a building has a facade that's significant, but is only 19% of the building, then I don't know. It could be.
Well, I mean, that's just what, when they were talking about whole or partial demolition, the partial one, they were talking like, I think over 25%. Or
Seems like maybe, taking a little more time, reading over this some more, dwelling on it a bit might be productive.
I'm going to see if I can come up with some other examples and see what they're doing, and maybe we can put some of that together and have a discussion on that. That might be the best way to do it, because I'm kind of like at this point going like, well, I know we need it. How exactly it's going to work, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, like if you want to, while you're reading things, or if you find anything that's good and you want to just like shoot it, copy and paste that into an email, I can update the document with that proposed language so we can like look at it.
Yep.
At the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to shoot this out to us again as a PDF, please, Amy?
Yeah, it's in the shared folder, but for the demo, I'll send out the link again to the.
Yeah, the link to that would be.
And anyone can come into that shared folder. Anyone on the commission can come in with that link and type comments in or make proposed changes to it, and then we'll all be updated to those changes as well.
Okay. So I guess at this point we are down to the last bit here. Schedule our next meeting. that would be, I don't have a calendar.
April already?
April
Yeah.
already,
April 14th,
14th.
6:30 still work well for everyone?
Works for me.
It'll still be light.
Yeah, for sure. Wish it was right now. There's something in the dark. Okay, yeah, that's good. And we just need one last bit of thing. We need somebody to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I move that we adjourn this meeting tonight.
In a second.
I second that motion.
In favor, Tracy?
Yes.
John? John, yes.
Aye. Yeah.
Nora,
Aye.
Beverly,
Aye.
Mike, aye. All right, and Jamie, you're not allowed to vote.
But you're
But
highly
I'm-
significant.
But I am in favor, I'm also in favor of adjourning.
Uh,
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. Thank you very
Get
much.
some rest, everybody.
We'll catch you,
Hey.
we'll catch you in April. In
Be
spring.
well.
Someday we'll see each other in person.
Someday.
Well, that, it's, buildings are.